Hello, 27D1. I'm so excited to participate in this virtual conference. This is a new one for me, but it has seemed like a long, long time since we have been together and chatted. Go ahead. So as you know, Restoring Hope Transplant House is a home away from home for bone marrow and organ transplant families, but we are so much more than a bed. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so part of who we're serving is in this year of COVID, we have really found that we have discovered who our niche is. Who are we serving? Who is coming here? And what we have found is that we are taking care of those people that can just barely afford us. And I know there's a lot of people that say, well, you should charge more than $45, but you know, the average family coming to our house is making $70,000 as a couple or less. And if the gentleman is the really worker in the house, our caregiving wife is usually making $25,000 to $20,000 a year and then losing some of that because she is caring for him. And so as you see on this slide, the difference between a night at our house, a week, a month, and then what a hotel costs. And to go from $1,300 a month basically to $4,700 is a big, big climb when you are paying a lot of hospital bills and meds. Next. So when we take care of families, what we do find is that we are taking care of caregivers more than we are the patient. The patient has teams of 20 people looking after them, and the caregiver is kind of left there to hang by themselves. And so what we find is the sharing and the caring that happens when people come together, we just get out of the way and let our caregivers take care of each other. Next. But we could not do life without the Lions. We knew that you were important to us from the very beginning. And I'll tell you, in this last year or two, especially as we have been doing so many things with this house, Lions are at work here all the time. In fact, we have signs printed up now that say Lions at work, and they are continually hanging out here with us. But our neighbors always know when Lions are at the house. Next. So here's a Lion family that is from Pepin, Wisconsin, Nancy and Jim. They've been here over 130 times. And I wish that you could maybe read these words as much as I would like to tell them to you. But for Nancy and Jim, this was a place to be for them. They've been here, as I said, over 130 times. Jim had a lung transplant 20 years ago, and he just passed away a month ago. And last year, or a little bit longer than that, Nancy was diagnosed with 4th stage breast cancer. And so we got her through that as well. But this is a hardworking Pepin family, and we are sad to see the loss of Jim. Next. Here's another family from the Detroit area. And they, again, talk about caregivers and why the house is important here. Not just the community, but how you guys have helped us in so many ways make this be the home that it is. We have Lion banners up and the logo flying and the diabetes tapes here and all of that, so that people know that we are not doing this by ourselves. We could never do this work by ourselves. Next. Here is another family. This is a bone marrow family. We see bone marrow and organ. And as you have known in the past, we took in the Lions families that had the burn victims. And we were happy to have them. And since that time of caring for them, we are continuing now to take burn victims as possibly can come here and be safe. The whole time of COVID has made a lot of this different. Next. Because of the COVID situation, we found in the beginning of January, one of the hardest things, we had just come off the best 2019 of the fullest house, the best fundraising, et cetera. And then all of a sudden the COVID word came to bear. But just before that, 3 days before COVID hit the house, we had an anonymous donor that actually paid our last bit of our mortgage off of $150,000. And so we were like pretty darn excited, knowing that now we had the ability to move forward to our renovations and expansion. And then we saw, like all of you, that our income stopped, the house was closed. We had never thought of social distancing. And how did that change how we move forward? And we found it really was a lot that we had to change. And so we had Strang and NCI Roberts, who are our construction team, go through the house with different eyes. And with us with different eyes of 6 foot distancing, where here at the house, we had to actually use only half of our rooms because of social distancing, shared bathrooms. Everything that could make our being open work for us was working horribly against us. Next. So as you can see, we are moving to add on, this is our existing corner, which is a wonderful corner downtown Middleton for having a home that actually cares for people. And we will be expanding this greatly. This is a perfect site for our house. Next. So what we found is we had to look at every detail of, here we had shared bathrooms, we can no longer have shared bathrooms. We had to have tables that couldn't be where we had our table of 12 feet where people sat around and gathered and cooked, and the kitchen the same way. Now we had people on top of each other, and how do you do this safely? So we were learning a lot of things. How do you clean this house, which now usually took us half an hour to 40 minutes, now takes 2 hours to clean. Next. So our house, as it exists right there in the days when 4th of July, had 6 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms, but all shared, and only 3 of them were full bathrooms. So we are expanding now to 16 rooms, 16 bathrooms in each of those rooms. And we have really reconfigured so that if we run into this situation again, we can overcome the challenges. The other part of it, next slide, is that we are building with a purpose. We know that when we have patients and families that are coming here that can only pay what they can pay, we have to really look at, how do we appoint this house? How do we build, and how do we overbuild? We can't be overbuilding because we need to keep that cost in such a financial constraint that we build with the purpose of not having to repair over and over again, that it has usability, that it can take the wear and tear of families, that we are not putting in things we don't need, because we cannot carry huge debt when we are trying to keep costs very, very low. Next. We learned also that it is not fun to be a transplant house that is on the historic registry of Middleton. We have found that this was probably our longest process besides water, is that the old house had to get through the Landmark Commission, and that was not easy. And so in this slide, you're going to see where the old house will be honored to stay pretty much the same. And then when we add on, we have to replicate windows, doors, et cetera, but it's called a hyphen, which you'll see in the middle at our entrance, where the old colors have to remain the same, the new colors have to be a blending. And so that was a real learning curve for us. Next. Our side yard will now become a house. We are really pleased with how things are turning out. We are looking at companies that are also helping us bring our costs down, such as Kohler, who is coming in and giving us all of our sinks and our toilets and our showers, et cetera. So when we bring in companies like that that are doing things like that, it not only brings down our balance of what we need for construction, but it also helps us with getting things done in a purposeful manner where it's meant for, when they give it to us, this is their stamp of approval too. And so we are also looking at folks to give us our furnaces and our air conditioners, our roofing, our siding, our windows, and we're very assertively going after that. Next. So again, you see that the house is changing. We're going to lose those ugly stairs that have been an eyesore since we got the house. That'll all be done internally, but it looks different, but yet we were very cognizant of being a good neighbor. In Middleton, you are a good neighbor. And so we made sure that we did not become a building that our neighbors despised, that our neighbors couldn't tolerate, that we are showing that we are a good neighbor as well. Next. So some of the things that we just want to touch on is we still need your help. And part of that help is, who do you know and how can you help us? We know that there are projects that we have for Lions to help us with, not only on painting, but other kind of things that we'll do for the house, tables that we want to build, different kind of things like benches, etc. But who do you know? Who do you know that can help us with various things to bring our costs down? How can we work together toward when we get to finishes and other things where we have people in Lions that really know what they're doing and can be very helpful? Who do you know? Who can help raise our story? We are not the only ones that can tell our story. And so we need to get a little bit higher profile in our community of who are we, what do we do, who do we serve, and why does it matter? And we can get this fact sheet to you as well. Next. And this is, again, Lions Clubs of more of the same, more of what I just talked about, is that if you know someone, if there's someone that you want to bring by the house and show them what we do here. One of the things about this district, more than any, is everyone thinks that no one stays here from your district, and that is so not true. We have people that cannot come to a family's home. Say they're coming from out of town and their children or their cousins or sisters and brothers live here, and they would become the caregiver. But our family can't go into your home because you have kids, you have dogs, you have allergens, things that make it not safe for our people to be there. And so we want you to also spread the word that you may be staying here too and being a caregiver. We also need you to give blood and to join the registry if you so want to. We are never having enough organs and enough bone marrow. And I'll tell you, as a bone marrow family ourselves, my husband, if he had not had a 23-year-old kid, as he calls himself, to donate for my husband, he would have died very quickly. And so we thank you for not only raising awareness of organ and tissue and eyes, et cetera, but your work on diabetes is phenomenal. And I gotta stop for a moment and thank you on that as well. I am learning so much about what it means to have diabetes in a family. And we see it here a lot. There are times that the top of our refrigerator is full of insulin. We've seen people have scary, scary high numbers when they go to test. That means an ambulance needs to come. And so we have seen that when you make a difference of vision and mobility and all those things, I cannot thank you enough for the way you serve other people. Lions do it so naturally, and we have now had families from 44 states, 8 countries. And who would have ever thought that this little house of 6 rooms would do that kind of powerful work and roar like lions do? And so we thank you for everything you do for us. We thank you for the hearts that serve, and even in COVID, you've continued on to help us. Bless you all, and we appreciate you so very much. Thank you.